And so for that reason, I was attracted to Paul. However, since I've started to know him, I started to see, what is this man's career? Well, he had a lot of yang energy. He boxed his way to the top of the Army boxing team, which is the most elite boxing team, or one of the most in the world. He became the coach. He realized that he was angry at his father, and that helped him get into the mental and emotional component of organized sports. And then he kept on moving forward and got into lifting weights and studying Sandow's work. And he became one of the top strength training coaches in the world. Realized that spinal stability precludes core stability, which precludes its flexibility, stability, strength, and then power. Right. And so he started working with more athletes. He started designing more programs for athletes. He got the whole Swiss ball phenomenon moving. And so now what you see, and I'm looking from the outside again. I didn't come from fitness, right. But what I see in the boot camps in my parks here in California, what I see with CrossFit, what I see with Paleolithic diets and stuff. I look at Paul's material, and I study Paul's material, and he's been at this for 30 years. The brother is the pioneer. Yeah. You've got Mark Sisson, and you've got some of these other characters out there that have blogged and done some stuff. But when you look at it, his wife's a biological anthropologist. He put together and formulated all these primal patterns, started teaching primal pattern type functional fitness to sports teams. I mean, up to 10 years ago, NFL, NBA, they were doing bodybuilding workouts.
Right, curls and bench press.
And I grew up in the 80s, so I know this well, and machines. And so you look at what's going on in the fitness world today, and you've got to give it up to Paul, because Paul brought the Swiss balls into the United States 25, 30 years ago.
Sure.
So I just pay respect where respect is due. It's why I've got a lot of respect for Elliot Hulse, a lot of respect for Sean Croxton, just on sheer the fact that they're out there sharing really powerful information and good information. I mean, so I give it up where it's due. I don't have to agree with everyone's philosophy and who they are or whatever. If they're doing basic stuff, because this world needs a lot of healing, it needs a lot of truth, and it needs a lot of brave warriors that are stepping up to the plate and knocking it out of the park. Yeah. And does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely, man. I appreciate you sharing that. I'm sure Paul appreciates that too. If you guys haven't checked out the Nutrition the Dirt Facts, go on YouTube and type that in. It's like 2 hours long, and it's mind-blowing. I sat there one night and watched the whole damn thing, and I was like, oh my God, it's really as good as Troy just said. Troy, so we have a little bit of time before we go. I know that we talked a little bit before the call, and you kind of mentioned us having similar stories with our child birthing experiences. And I'm wondering, maybe you could share that with us and kind of what you're doing to heal your kind of side of things as well.
Yes, well, I read your blog about that was the birth of your daughter?
Yeah, my daughter, yeah.
And so how many kids do you have?
Just one.
Okay, great. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I love my kids. I love being a dad. I love everything about it, and I try and learn as much as I can, because I've got my own mental and emotional issues, my own spiritual. I treat my parenting as my number one spiritual growth technique right now. And my commitment is to be the best father and the best husband that I can possibly be. And I got to keep coming and recommitting myself back to that. So our journey started, my wife as a teenager, I think, saw a Russian movie on water birth. And even though I had worked with the Maori who specialize in birthing and fertility, and I was surrounded by a lot of midwives and people that were conscious and working with conscious parenting, conscious birthing, I didn't really know that much about it. So my wife mentioned water birth, so I start consulting with the Maori and some of the midwives that used to work with them. And boom, we got all set up for a water birth. And it was great. I did a lot of research on my birth. My mother was knocked out cold. I was pulled out with forceps in the 60s. Same thing with my brother. So I got to really understand, how we're brought into the world and how what a spiritual element. We're coming in from another dimension. Our consciousness is coming out, and the baby twists and turns out when it wants to come, and the technology of walking and opening up the hips and all this groovy stuff. Here I was into holistic health, but I didn't know a lot about this stuff.
Sure.
So it was brilliant to learn this stuff. And I think this is another way I got popular on YouTube, between ayahuasca and natural childbirth, because we put the birth of my son up on YouTube, and you can watch it. If you just type in Certified Health Nut or Troy Casey, natural childbirth, water birth, they'll populate. And so it was great. My wife went into labor maybe 16 hours on and off, but she got in the tub, and about 20 minutes later, my son popped out. She said the pain went away. It was picture perfect.
Right.
And so a couple of years later, we got pregnant with our second child, and my wife and I were going through quite a bit of stress at the time, and we moved into a new house, and 3 years later, we figured out there was mold there, and that might have been a component why we dealt with the placenta wasn't getting enough food.
Right.
It wasn't getting enough nutrition. So about a month and a half, about a month out, the midwife threw in the towel. She said, "I represent the baby. This baby is not meant to be born at home. Go find a doctor." Whew. And so as much as I didn't like that, I had a lot of respect for that.
Sure.
And so we went down the whole doctor route, and they were running tests on her. And next thing you know, she was at UCLA, and they're like, "Oh, they're going to induce birth." And I'm thinking, I'm not anti. I've just got my eye on the whole medical industry,
Right.
and like what they're trying to do. And luckily, I had a friend who was very well versed in midwifery, as well as she was kind of like a doula.
Right.
So she had a lot of knowledge. So I got there, and instantly they wanted to give her a drug that the World Health Organization said that is not healthy. And so they held off on that because we had knowledge. We questioned them. They induced birth a different way. And then my wife was going through so much trauma and pain, she thought that the epidural would help her. And at that point, I'm like, whatever supports my wife.
Yeah.
I don't need to be anti.
Sounds exactly like my story, man.
I mean, I didn't want a C-section. I wanted a vaginal birth, but luckily UCLA is pro-vaginal birth. They're
Right.
pro-breastfeeding. So luckily we were in good hands that way. We didn't go in there and they're like, C-section, come on, let's go, guys.
Right.
So luckily, we were in good hands, and the baby finally came. She spent 5 days in the natal intensive care unit. I wouldn't sign any documents that would give them the rights to just do anything. And let me tell you, all those doctors and all those people in that office, they were on their toes when I was walking around. Everybody knew who my child was, and they weren't just jacking her up with vaccines and all this other stuff. They were walking on eggshells, which is exactly where I want them and where I want anyone whenever I'm in a hospital, because if you look at statistics, there are many mistakes that happen in hospitals, and my research shows that drugs and doctor mistakes in hospitals are actually the number one cause of death in the United States. And so they don't publish that because they don't want you to know. But if you crunch your own numbers and you do your own research, that's where it's at. Was a doctor prescribed adverse drug reactions from doctor prescribed drugs, and medical malpractice, as well as mistakes. And so that was my experience. Thank God for the Ronald Reagan wing over there at UCLA. It was brand new marble. I mean, it was like. It was. I had a joyful experience in the hospital, as much as joy can be.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful for my natural medicine background. My wife got a UTI, a urinary tract infection, about a little bit after the birth. I mean, you got blood down there, you got all sorts of stuff. And I'm thinking cranberry juice, but it was 2 a.m. in the morning. Where can you get cranberry juice? You can't get cranberry juice. Then I was thinking red. So red cranberry juice, what kind of medicine is red, astringent? Well, I work in the Amazon Herb Company. I got a pile full of herbs with me, and we started doing dragon's blood and camu camu. And camu camu is the highest concentrated source of vitamin C, and dragon's blood's astringent, and it's the 90% proanthocyanidins by dry weight. It's the strongest antioxidant on the planet. I did like 5 or 6 capsules of those for her and about 4 or 5 grams of camu, and it was stabilized. And then we did it again in 4 hours, and it was gone. Yeah. It was literally gone. And they were talking about antibiotics, and we would have had to wait till the doctor got in the morning. And it was just like, so all I have to say is it's integrative medicine. Emergency medicine is handy in a pinch, but for the most part, become your own doctor. Be responsible. Be that guy.
Awesome, man. I really appreciate you sharing that story with me. It sounds a lot like my own personal story, going from a natural home birth all the way to the hospital and a bunch of crazy stuff. So thanks for sharing that with us. And I completely agree with you. Get your own knowledge. Learn from the best. That way you can make informed decisions and not just feel like a pawn in someone else's game. So Troy, I got to ask you one quick question. You're obviously successful in the blogging world. You're a successful guy. You look fantastic for your age. What's your secret? What's your secret to success?
My secret to success is comb your hair, brush your teeth, and keep showing up, man. I mean, I may have a good Facebook facade, and I definitely take care of myself, and so. My adrenal exhaustion is hiding right now. But the fact of the matter is we're all going through stuff. And at 2013 on planet Earth, there's a huge transformation that we're going through. We're all being called, I think, energetically and cosmically. We are being called to a higher level. A lot of people are going through emotional stuff. A lot of my clients are dealing with relationships ending, careers ending, jobs ending. They don't know who they are anymore. And guess what? I'm going through the same thing myself. And so we're being asked to be rebirthed or reconstructed. And so because we're being called to think on a higher level. I saw a Buckminster Fuller quote the other day. We are being called to be the architects of the future, not the victims of the future. And if you look statistically at the aspects of the earth, the ocean acidification, deforestation in the Amazon, the Gulf spill, Fukushima, oil contamination, pesticides, drugs, all these systems, banking, education, all the systems, they are defunct. Look at what you have in your country. The tar sands is a big mess. What they're doing up there, the XL pipeline. So it's just time to use the most technological advanced piece of equipment in the whole entire universe and rise up to the next level of human evolution. Russell Brand was still talking revolution. Many people are talking revolution. We've done the revolutions. It's time for human evolution. So tap into your own consciousness and what resonates with you. Do what you love. And go out there and share, whatever you love, whatever we can believe and conceive, we can achieve. That's Napoleon Hill. And in the Bible, I think it says, thought, word, action manifest in the flesh. And, so we think the thoughts, we dream up the ideas. I've been doing interviews and research on free energy and intentional off-the-grid communities. What's the next evolution? This is clearly, not working. Oil and fossil fuels and living on the JP Morgan grid and being addicted to oil and spending that money with worthless dollars, inflated, fictitious dollars. This is unsustainable. It has to change. We just have to ask ourselves where we want to be, who we want to be, and how it wants to roll out. We don't want to look at stockpiling guns and foods and living in the mountains. We don't want that. We want the next evolution of human consciousness. Some form of community and growing our own food and sharing. That way we can enjoy life. We can have more time with our children. We can enjoy the nutritious food without having to make $1 bazillion to afford it. $1 bazillion worthless dollars.
Awesome, man. Well, Troy, where can people find the Certified Health Nut online? What's the best place to reach you?
CertifiedHealthNut.com. You can get on my email list. Facebook, Certified Health Nut. Troy Casey, Facebook. Instagram, YouTube, Certified Health Nut. I'm pretty easy to find if you Google me, Troy Casey. Just get out there and connect with me, share information. If people's information resonates with me, I am making some people content creators on my Facebook page. It has about 5,000 people on it now. I like to share as much information as I can. So just find me, Certified Health Nut. It's pretty easy. I branded you.
Awesome, man. Well, Troy Casey, the Certified Health Nut, I appreciate you taking the time today to come on the call, man, and I really had a good time.
Yeah, thanks so much, Tyler. I appreciate it, man.